afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Marketing Gem. On this, which is a weekly Lean for Growth TV show. Last week's show, we discussed how SMEs could gain the most benefit from their website. During the discussion, we briefly touched on the importance of text in helping you to be found on the web. So it's both to explain what the company's services and products do to potential and existing customers, and how it can also help new or potential customers find you. During this discussion, we mentioned that the site's text not only had to be legible and appealing to humans, but it also needs to be found by the Google and the other search engine bots, which help them to rank your page when the search term is used on the internet using tag or keywords. Too many tag or keywords, and a piece of text will easily be found by the search engine bots, but it won't make much sense to the reader, and you won't necessarily improve your search engine results. Just using keywords correctly on your site won't be enough to get good rankings. If the keywords are missing or not fully optimized for your site, the chances are that you will not be ranked highly. So you could miss out on opportunities, on important opportunities. So creating the right balance between over and under optimizing is an important step in getting found on the web. And how does writing for the web differ from writing for a brochure, for example? And how do you help ensure that all your website's text is properly optimized so it can be easily found by both the bots and easily read by humans? As usual, I'm joined by a panel of experts from the branding and marketing sectors. Starting with Kevin Lynch, who has many years' experience working in the broadcasting sector in the UK and throughout Europe. And Kevin also advises job seekers and SMEs on how to use keywords on LinkedIn so that they can easily be found by recruitment agencies and potential customers. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, Diane. Pleasure to be with you all. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot in this challenging area for a lot of people.
Okay, great. And the second guest this week is Jonathan Darby, who has a wealth of experience in the marketing and media planning worlds, whilst working with some of the world's biggest advertising agencies on behalf of the biggest clients in the world. So, Jonathan, welcome.
Hi there. Yes, this isn't all about world domination, but I think it is a very important topic, particularly for SMEs, to try and get the best out of their website. I mean, it's going to end up as being a reasonable consumer hub as far as they are concerned, and everything that we can help them arm themselves with to get that to work as hard as possible will be brilliant.
Okay, that's great. And we're also joined by Catherine Baldwin, who runs CV Graphics, a design consultancy based in Watford. Catherine, you're kind of like on the end of this in that you're busy writing for both Michael Green Foundation, the charity you're associated with, and your own company on both the web and in print. So look forward to hearing your comments.
Yes, absolutely. You made me sound like some sort of expert now, which is very flattering. But yeah, there are differences between a printed brochure and a website and how you get that information across. It can be a daunting prospect sometimes to be thinking, I need a website, where do I start? So hopefully we'll be able to provide some pointers and some tips to help you along the way.
Okay, and we also this week have Jeremy Silverstone of Purple Marketing Communications joining us. Jeremy has a long history of working in the advertising industry and currently writes copy for both on and offline for marketing and other promotional materials for a wide range of SMEs around the UK. Welcome to the show, Jem.
Thank you very much indeed. I know how the new guys feel on Dragon's Den now. It's like everybody hates you and you've got to prove yourself. So it's a daunting task.
I'm sure you've got lots of advice and tips. Kevin, for clarification, I talked about bots and in the introduction and how the text needs to be legible by both humans and bots. Well, I think we all know what humans are, but what are bots and search engine bots?
Sure. Well, everybody uses the internet for search, and you have your favorite. Oh, excuse me, I've just got a frog in my throat.
Okay.
Everybody uses the internet for search, and we all have our favorite search engines. Those search engines use a technology where basically they crawl all over the net. Now, they don't literally send out, guys with backpacks to crawl along network cables, but what they do is have tools that visit a website, look at the links, follow the links, and index that back, and that crawling is the basis of how the web is searched. And those crawlers are sometimes also called bots. And in particular, if you don't want your website being searched, there's a little file called robots.txt, and you say, don't crawl here. But for our purposes, we want our website to be crawled, and then we want it to be found in the search engine. So I think that's enough on that for now.
Okay, that's great, because it's not about specifically this program about SEO, search engine optimization. It's about how you write good text that's going to appeal to both humans and robots. So, Jonathan, what's the first stage?
Well, have a clear idea of exactly what you want to use your website to do. All part of your strategy, which is there to achieve meeting certain objectives, but be clear, and when you brief anyone who's working with you, be clear of what your expectations are and what you want it to drive. How do you want it to drive traffic to your website? What sort of things that people are going to be looking for? So what are the likely keywords that are going to go in there? The copywriter and various other, the web specialists may go away and then search other words and terms that might have to go in there, but you have to know exactly what your expectations of that website are and what is its function in bringing new traffic to the website and new business to your business.
Yeah. So, Jem, I mean, you do this virtually every day of the week for clients, as I said in the introduction, large and small. When people come to you and say, we want a brochure and a piece of copy for the text and everything, and can you help us do this? How can you do that? What's your first kind of stage when you're planning out the text, especially for the website?
Well, as the other guys have alluded to, it's about understanding the audiences and what's going to motivate those audiences. Writing a brochure is easier in some ways because having established what that audience is, the communication is directly with that audience. Whereas with a website, there are several audiences and several routes into that same text. So although the end user needs to read the text in a particular way, you have to be aware that there are machines that are assessing the text that you write and using that to rank your site along the way. So you have to be mindful of that whilst writing that text. But ultimately, you have to never lose sight of the fact that you are trying to engage with humans in the text. And I think Google has got very savvy to this over the years and has gradually realised the importance of having more engaging text, as well as the other factors that are going to rank your site, such as the links and the tags.
Okay, so when you're writing then, I mean, what's to stop people just putting in, if it were a whole paragraph of text that is just tag words and taglines?
Well, there are two things that would stop you. One is the fact that it would turn the audience off. They would just see it as gobbledygook. And unless an audience is pretty much engaged immediately by what you're writing on a site, it's not going to stay on the site, it's not going to revisit the site, it won't recommend the site. The other reason is that Google is very clever in the way it assesses the text, and if the words that you use are too obviously aimed simply at gaining traction in the rankings, Google is very clever at identifying that and will penalise you for it.
Yeah. So, Catherine, you write a lot of text for Michael Green Foundation, which is one of your clients. So, I mean, if you would never just dream of writing type 2 diabetes everywhere, would you? On the site, you have to be a bit more subtle than that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like the guys have mentioned before, you want humans to be reading this. You're not actually just thinking about search engine optimization. The text actually has to be interesting as well. But it is quite a. I was just going to touch on the difference again between writing for a website, writing for a brochure. When you're writing for a website, you have to first of all realize that when people are looking through websites, they're scanning. They're not necessarily reading text, they're scanning through it. You need a nice punchy headline to start with, something that, yes, is going to be picked up with a few keywords thrown in there, and certainly in your first paragraph of text as well. But it's got to be interesting. I read somewhere that one of the best ways of thinking about it is actually thinking about if you're talking to a friend about something that's really good, that you're passionate about. First of all, you draw them in with, "You'll never guess where I went last night." So there's a nice big punchy drawing, and then after that, tell them what it was, and then go into to more detail. I think it's called the pyramid, something, or inverse pyramid or something. So you're really giving the most important information first, and then perhaps going into a little bit more detail about it afterwards. But you need to draw them in first. People scan through websites. If you haven't drawn them in to start with, they're just going to move on to the next website, which makes it a little bit pointless then. So yeah, nice big punchy headlines, decent length of paragraph. 2 or 3 lines in a paragraph is usually about all people want to scan through. Really just to sort of try and hold people's attention. But yeah, and then hopefully they'll read on into what the product's all about, what the service is all about, and obviously making your details nice and bold, simple, clear, easy to read, so that you're making it easy for the reader, basically.
Jonathan, you would agree with that wholeheartedly, wouldn't you? That it's the message of making it easy for the reader as the first kind of point of text on the web, but you have to make.
Thank you for that. Yes, I mean, and make it easy to read. Most people who are on the website are in a bit of a hurry. Certainly when they get to the landing page, don't have lots and lots of complicated stuff on the landing page. You want it to load quickly, and you want them to get to the salient points from where they can then navigate if they require more detail. But yes, keep it simple, keep it clear, ideally. And yes, you also have to remember, if you like, someone who's picked up a leaflet, in a sense, is a captive audience, and by and large has a degree of interest in the subject you're talking about. The person who's landed on your landing page has got there because they probably have never heard of you before. So all the key reassurances need to be there at the beginning. And, clear navigation, clear how to get in contact with us. If you don't find what you're looking for almost immediately, how to get in touch with us, and we'll fill in all the gaps. And just, as I said, have a clear purpose for the whole website, but make sure it's simple to navigate, loads quickly, but the words are vital.
Yeah, Jim, you would of course agree with that. So, what are examples of good and bad, say, tag words or phrases that you may use?
There's a question.
Okay, I'll give you a Watford. If you're saying example in Watford.
I need at least 3 days' notice of a question as big as that. But the answer is that it will be different for every client. The words that are appropriate are the words that are going to be meaningful and relevant and appropriate to the audience. And it's something that we'll come back to again and again. I think it is very easy, and people who write their own text tend to write lots and lots and lots of words. And simplicity is something that has been mentioned just a few minutes ago, and I think it's really important to get across to our audience that actually, if they are writing their own text, and obviously I would say get a copywriter to write it for you, but if you are writing your own, do try to keep it simple. People don't have time in their lives to read lots and lots of things, so you have to assess what the audience wants and try to re-establish a kind of tone that looks at what that audience wants to hear rather than what you yourself want to write. So it is about trying to create a kind of affinity with your audience. So you need to predict what their motivation is. What do they want to gain from the site? What are the boxes that they need to tick? Because if you can tick those boxes early on, then you have a chance of retaining them on the site and being able to engage with them to build the relationship that is the stepping stone to ultimately doing business with them.
Yes, I would agree with that, and I would say specific information is going to be best. I mean, I would say avoid things in your taglines or your headings like best ever or you know, free for you, because they're used so frequently that they're meaningless. Whereas if you were to say something like Watford's hottest new nightclub or something like that, it would be a bit more specific if that is in fact what you're promoting.
And I would concur with that. What I would add to that, and Catherine's right about location. If you're in Watford and your audience is in Watford, then make sure you say you're in Watford. If you are appealing to the whole of the UK, say that you are UK based and that you can service the whole of the UK. If you're a global brand, say you're a global brand, but people need to know that you're relevant to their needs. And if somebody's looking for an accountant in East Lanarkshire, they're not going to be interested in an accountant who lives in Kent if they need any personal contact with them. Clearly there are some businesses where no personal contact is required. It can all be done online one way or another, in which case your audience may be a lot wider and you may be able to reach those people without the personal contact. If people want face-to-face engagement, then it's important to tell them that you are local and that you can service their needs.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, you would agree with all of that, wouldn't you? I mean, it's back to the
Yes.
marketing audit about determining audience again and defining the audience and then your keywords from there.
Yeah, and I mean, there will be some input from things like your marketing audience audit as well. But the comment about if you're doing something with, say, a local nightclub, and that is, or whatever, if it's local, obviously the location is vitally important to communicate, particularly if it's a business where you want them to come to you. But following on from that, if you've got an audience and you know who those people are, go and talk to them. Use the language that they use. So perhaps record when you're talking to them to make sure that you're getting the sort of snippets of conversation and the language that they use. Build that into what you're actually going to use, because effectively you're reflecting your audience's behaviour. Don't be afraid to, in that sort of situation, perhaps record videos of people and make. What you're sort of looking for is compelling content, something that when they get there, they get a sort of an engagement and a reward for being there, and they may even feel like adding their own personal contribution to all of that, which could be fun as well. So look for what is going to work for them. I think at this stage, Kevin, I think, is hinting that he really wants to talk to something about what people read in a web page.
Yeah,
so I'll hand over.
I was just coming to that, Kevin. Yes. Do you want to screen share what you've come?
Hopefully, if the technology is working, you're now seeing a screenshot screen. This is from my friend Jakob Nielsen, and as Jonathan was alluding to, you know, use a video and watch people's engagement. And this screenshot is showing us a heat map of how people are actually reading content on web pages. My first caution about this would be that it's actually desktop, and actually on the mobile platform things would be different. But the heat maps here that you can see, and the center one's quite interesting because that shows the F scan, i.e. people look at the first line, jump down a bit, read that first line of text, read down a bit more, and they're off. That is precisely what you've got to write to, because that's how people are using it. If you're writing in a different way where they're going to jump all around, they're going to do that habitual scan, be confused by what you read, and go to the next thing. And as I like to say, there's no place better to hide a dead body than on the second page of Google results. You don't want to be there. You want to be engaging with people, getting their attention.
Yeah. So, I mean, Jem, you would agree with that. So I presume putting keywords and taglines sort of like straight up in the headlines, in the the page heading or in that very first paragraph is where it's all going to happen.
Yes, and it's very difficult to cram everything that you want to say into a headline. And I've seen sites where they have tried to cram everything into a headline. It simply doesn't work. What I would recommend as just as a couple of tips and reminders is that optimizing a site is a threefold process. It's about making sure the right words are there in the first place, but it's also about making sure that the content is updated regularly. And thirdly, it's about making sure that the other marketing that you're doing around the site is consistent with that. So if you're tweeting, if you're blogging, if you've got any other mechanisms, email campaigns, for example, that they're feeding into the site in a consistent way. So all of that optimizes the site. In terms of the kind of the practical mechanics, there are again three things that I would mention. One is to use subheadings, because that helps the audience to identify where the information they want is much more easily. And I think it's something that people can very easily address within their own text, and often they forget about subheadings, but it is a really useful navigation tool. The second thing is that the audience is generally looking for evidence. They know that you're going to say that you're really good. What they're looking for is evidence that somebody else has said that you're good, or that you can provide some proof that you're good. So providing a video testimonial, providing a micro case study, any of that evidence is really important in establishing your own credibility. And the third thing is, and it's a real bugbear of mine as a kind of graphic designer and typographer, is that people find it very difficult to read long lines of text, and they will very quickly turn off, disassociate themselves with the site, disengage if they have to read long lines of text. The reason why newspapers use very short lines is because the eye and the brain find it very much more easy to follow text if it's in short lines. As a general rule, I would say between maybe 60 and 80 characters on a line is probably the optimum line length. And lots of experiments have been done. The amount of interest that's shown, the amount of response that's given to any text, wherever it appears, is hugely enhanced if you can keep the line length short. And that's something you can very easily address.
Yeah, and yeah, for those who don't understand characters properly, it means both words and spaces on a line, not just not just the letters. And as also as a classically trained typographer and graphic designer, I would wholeheartedly agree about line length, as I'm sure Catherine would.
Absolutely, yes. I was about to jump in there, but you came to me anyway, which is nice. I was going to say exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned earlier about a couple of lines, have a little space, put a picture in, you know. I mean, I was going to say as well, two things. Firstly, to bear in mind that when someone's looking for a website, they may well have just typed in something in Google, so they might not be landing on your landing page, on your front page of your website. So make sure that every page is interesting. Make sure that every page has appropriate content, you know, that's going to draw in a reader to look at all the other pages as well. Every page on the website has to be as equal as the last. The other thing I was going to say was break it up a bit. You know, no one wants to read a whole page of text, like Jem said. Break it up a bit, add some images in, add a little questionnaire in, put some bullet points in, and of course not forgetting a call to action of some sort as well. If you're trying to engage with a reader, you know, have a donate button on there if you're a charity, have a buy now button, or you know, some sort of call to action, so that actually there's something that they're aiming towards at the end of reading about what you're talking about. So yeah, keeping it nice and punchy. I was going to say, what are people's thoughts on humour in headlines? Clever humour, or is being too clever too much sometimes? What do you think?
I'll go in there first. Humour is something that's British, so you know we can write jokes that are funny for a British audience. However, sophisticated Americans get our sense of irony, but your average American is confused by British humour. And obviously, people like Germans, the French, are just going, what's this about? So it goes back to what Jen was saying earlier. Know your audience. If your audience is upmarket, upscale, they'll enjoy a bit of irony, humor. But that's very, very skilled writing, in my opinion, because if you're trying to sell, say, a £20,000 bathroom suite, jokes about bogs don't really work in that context. So I think if you want a bit of humor, I would say consult my skilled copywriter.
Okay, Jonathan, you would heartily agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, humour's it's a double-edged sword. If it's really good and clever and appropriate to what you're doing, fine. If you're trying to sell funeral services, it's probably not a good time to be putting it into your website. But if you are selling stuff to teenagers, then, and the things that you're doing is a giggle, then fine, you can use it. But you do have to be clever. But it can be part of that engagement, and it can be part of that reward process that people go to the thing, particularly if humour is rapidly changing and it's topical, and that's what your audience is into, then that's exactly what you're doing. You're building on what actually engages your audience. Certainly for younger consumer audiences, quite a lot of people have been talking about building a story around brands. And again, that's something that you can probably do using the website, but don't make the website a be-all and end-all. Make the website fuel the story rather than be the hub of the story. Use the brand and use your other marketing to build the story. It's it's about doing the appropriate thing to the audience that you are trying to engage. But I don't have a problem with a humour if it's there and it has a really good purpose to that engagement.
Okay. Yeah, before we move on, do you have anything to say about humour? I mean, you write all the time, and I know that some of your clients aren't UK based.
Well, you know me, I'm not a big fan of humour. I'm quite a dull person, really. I think that humour, I respond positively to humour. I think, as the guys have said, other people do. I think this is all about emotion and having an emotional engagement with your audience. I think you need to, particularly for a small business, and a lot of the audience to this show, I'm guessing, will be small business owners. And those people need to set themselves apart from their competitors by being authentic to their own personality. And so I think if your personality is to be chatty and jokey, accepting that with some products it's not appropriate, and clearly funeral directors is one of those, I think we should use it. I think we should use every tool in the book, and I think it's about having an appropriate tone and creating an appropriate feeling in your audience. But this is about emotional engagement. We're trying to connect with people, and we do that far more effectively if we can get them to buy into us with their heart as well as their head.
Yeah.
I would jump in one tiny thing to add to that. If you have printed material, brochures, leaflets, or whatever that you use on a regular basis, be consistent. If you're using humour or particular a type of language or particular way of speaking to your audience through your printed literature, then that should really follow through on your website as well.
Kevin, there are certain tools out there that can help you check the optimization of your website, aren't there?
You want to
mute buttons incorrectly. Right, that's better. There are tools out there. Basically, if you go to the Google Webmasters Guidelines, they will point you to some good advice, sort of things we've been covering earlier in the show, and they have specific tools that let you see how they view your website, and they will give you some hints and pointers how to see that. So I'll put that link to the Webmaster Guidelines in the Marketing Gem Twitter feed.
Okay, that's great. So before we start tip of the week generally, what would be the one thing that you would advise clients to do to write effective web copy, Jonathan?
Keep it simple, keep it clear, and have a very clear understanding between yourself and whoever's doing the copywriting of what you want it to achieve.
Okay, Kevin?
I'd say, if in doubt, look at what your competitors are doing in the business. What's a quick way to get there?
Okay, Catherine?
Jonathan stole my tip, so I'm thinking of another one. I would say write a first draft and read it aloud to someone. See how it sounds. See what they think of it.
Okay, and Jen?
Unmute him.
Last and being muted as well. My advice would be listen to those experts. They're all giving you very good advice.
Well, you can all unmute yourselves, actually. It's not just me who can do that in most circumstances. Okay, it's time for tip of the week, but before I come to that point, quick reminder, it's this show is called The Marketing Gem. You can get in touch with us via our Twitter feed at The Marketing Gem. Hopefully you're finding it interesting and useful. If you want a topic discussed or covered, then please tweet us at as I said, at The Marketing Gem. We look forward to hearing from you. Okay, very briefly, at the end of each week, we talk about a particular marketing topic that's not necessarily related to the subject we've discussed previously, that's kind of like a tip of the week. So it could be a topical tip, or it could be something you need to think about when you're forward planning and everything. So, Catherine, what's your tip of the week?
My tip of the week generally would be to look up occasionally. We can get so absorbed in what we're doing ourselves, so wrapped up in how we're trying to achieve certain things. It can be very easy to live in a bit of a bubble. I think we need to look up occasionally and do some looking around what other people are doing. Since I started being involved with Marketing Gem Show, I've subscribed. There's lots of free subscriptions out there. I would use them. Information coming from online magazines like Marketing Week, like Creative Review, Design Week. Obviously, I'm design-based. Those sorts of things really interest me now. But other things as well, like Upworthy or Wired. There are some really interesting resources out there. Have a look at them. See what else is going on in the world. Not just our little bubble in Watford, the UK, Great Britain, whatever. There's so many interesting things going on in the world, and it's good to read about them.
Okay, Kevin, what's your tip of the week, please?
Well, I looked at my watch and it's the 25th of November. So I'm a big fan of Keep Christmas in December, but at this time of year, Christmas is one of those festivals that can cause lots of unintentional offense. So if you're dealing with a worldwide audience, remember that in East Coast America, it's Happy Holidays rather than Happy Christmas. The French, they celebrate Christmas, but for them, New Year is just as important. So remember, although we're in our bacchanalian Christmas where the sun's gone away and it's never coming back, remember other people view this time of year differently, particularly if you're dealing with the Islamic world.
Okay, and Jen, what would be your tip?
Well, I did think about maybe just thinking about working smarter, which might mean, for example, micro-marketing, so aiming at a much smaller audience and trying to focus on those, or working with partners to create affinities, or maybe finding a niche market. But I think there's a couple of things that I would say. One is ask your clients what their big challenge is, and that will give you a very good idea where the opportunity is. And don't forget to thank them at the end of it. But the overriding tip this week is don't be afraid to put your prices up. Don't be afraid to value yourself at the level that you really deserve. I think too many organizations feel it's kind of intuitive to reduce your prices and that's going to get you more clients. The reality is it probably will, but they'll be terrible clients. They'll bitch about prices, they'll force you down in terms of price, they'll not value the quality that you want to deliver. Don't be afraid to lose those people. Put your prices up, double your prices if you can. and then add value to what you can do. I'm going to do that now.
Okay, and Jonathan, what's your tip of the week?
I do agree with Jeremy. I think it's, in this day and age, people are far too willing to cut their price to, they think it's all about price, but actually it's all about getting it right first time and doing the best job that you can possibly do. And doing it well tends to cost more money. My tip of the week, I would guess, is a reference back to where I've been before. Infographics on Pinterest that are relevant to small businesses. I noticed that there's some new ones gone up about trends in the digital marketplace in 2016. Would make some quite interesting reading before you sort of decide what you're going to do next year. Have another look at things like Trend Watching and Springwise, the two websites I talked to about a couple of, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Again, Springwise is about new business opportunities, some of which are very peculiar, but they're springing up all over the world. Something might be right up your street, so to speak, and something that no one else is doing in the UK, and you could sort of make it your own. Trend watching is all about what are people doing, different target audiences, different groups. There's a lot of public resource information in these websites that you can get without having to pay for it. Have a sniff around, see what's going on. It might give you some fresh ideas for 2016.
Okay, my tip of the week was actually to look at the calendar, because of course it is coming up towards the end of the year, and see what anniversaries are happening locally or nationally that you can build a marketing campaign round, because there'll be lots of other people doing generating coverage, so you might be able to generate some for yourself in and around an event, especially a local event for an SME. You never know where that can lead, and it can help boost and raise your profile, because people will be Googling and searching for those terms anyway. So, try and fit in some of your marketing plans around big events, certain times of the year and stuff like that, rather than just having a small amount throughout the year. You might find it works better for you. Okay, on that point, it's time to say cheerio from the Marketing Gem. Gem. It's done it again.
I'll get the hang of this technology one of these days. It's been a pleasure to be involved. Thank you very much. I hope it's been useful to somebody out there.
Okay, great. Catherine.
Yes, thank you very much for another fantastic show, Diane. I love the fact that you put it all together so succinctly. And yeah, remember to look up, everybody. See you next week.
Okay. Evan?
Thanks everyone for staying with us. Just like to say, if you want to know more, follow us on Twitter at The Marketing Gem.
Okay, and Jonathan?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you have been listening, it's been good fun to take part. I hope one of the things that we've demonstrated is you can get a long way with a bit of passion and a bit of enthusiasm about these things. And good luck, and let's hope you watch again in the future.
Okay, well that's great, and thank you very much. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can via any of the Twitter feeds that are being shown. So, or indeed, you can get in touch with us at the Marketing Gem directly. So on that note, I say thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.